My water heater has stopped heating the water for the radiant floor in this garage. So let's fix that today. Hi, I'm David and welcome to my channel where I like to do DIY projects that are renewable energy and energy efficiency. We are currently in my garage, and when I built this garage I laid down PEX tubing for a radiant floor. Now that PEX tubing is connected to this whole contraption behind me, which is a 40-gallon electric water heater combined with some circulator pumps, and I've got solar thermal on the south wall and up on the roof. I got a whole series on how I built the solar thermal system for heating the garage. Now this looks like a mess because I built it over the course of several years, but the original system is this 40-gallon electric water tank. So the electric heater elements would turn on using 240 volt alternating current. They'd heat the water, which would then be circulated through the floor using this Grundfos circulator. Radiant floor system works really well, and I usually never even have to turn this water heater on. Usually just the solar thermal heats everything. Now there was a point this past February when it got a little chilly in the garage. It was about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The solar thermal wasn't doing a great job because we had some back-to-back storms. So we weren't getting a lot of solar, wanted to boost it up with the electric. Well, I went to turn on the circuit breaker, thought everything was fine, came back the next day, it was a little bit colder in the garage. I was like, hey, that's not supposed to be happening. So it turns out one of these water heating elements is burned out. I have shut off the circuit breaker and there's no power at the wires out here for this water heater. In order to check the water heating elements, we'll use a multimeter and we'll set it to ohms. So down here it's going to be reading ohms for us. We'll take our two probes. We'll come over here and put one on each screw. And then we can check what our ohms is. 12.9. This is a good heating element. Now let's move it up to the top. Up here is the top one. As you can see, we have all kinds of numbers. So that is not a good heating element. The way that this works is the electricity comes in from the top, on the top two legs. It goes to this thermostat. When the thermostat sees that the water is cold, it turns this heating element on. Once this thermostat is satisfied, it then sends the power to the lower heating element and turns this one on. It has its own thermostat right here. So this one doesn't get used very often. It's usually just the top heating element when you're kicking it on. So that's why it got burned out first. So now we'll take off these two wires and then we have to unscrew this heating element. So let's drain some water out of here so that we get the water level below that heating element, and then we'll take it out. Right here is a drain port on the bottom of the tank, and I'll just screw on a garden hose and then we'll open this up and drain some water out. So while it's draining, let's go ahead and take these two wires off and then we'll be able to crack this heating element out of here. This is the water heater element wrench right here. If anybody's interested, you can see it's just a big socket and we'll put it right on here. So we'll just get it on over, or anything you have, and you just put the screwdriver in here. And this gives you the leverage so that you can turn it. Okay, I had to crack it with two hands, but now I have the leverage and I can just unscrew that. So here we go. You hear the air rushing in? You can really hear the air rushing in now as I've backed it out quite a bit. Okay, here we go. We can finish pulling this out. There we go. And there we go. Alright, so there's the water heating element. Alright, so here's where the water heating element goes in. But before I put the new one in, I want to put in some anti-corrosion. On top of the water heater, there's this little contraption which helps eliminate air bubbles from the system. And I just put a funnel in. And now we are going to fill this up using this stuff. It's a corrosion inhibitor. So here's the new water heating element. Now this is a pretty standard replacement part. It usually sells for about $10 in my area. This is a 4,500 watt element, which is exactly what this water heater had when it came from the factory. If you're a professional plumber and I have this wrong, please correct me in the comments below. But I don't think I put any pipe dope on here, any sealant on the threads, because there is a rubber gasket. So we're working on the principle of compressing that gasket, not sealing with the threads. Here's the brand new water heating element. Now there's the rubber seal on the end, so I'm not putting any pipe dope on this. I'm trying to catch the threads on here. All right, I think I did it. Okay, now we'll use our wrench again, tighten this down, and I just went an extra quarter turn using the wrench more than what I was hand tight with. I just ran a garden hose from my house into the garage, and I hooked it up right here to the drain port. Now we can turn this on, and when we do that, we're going to be filling this tank up, and it's going to start coming out the top. So let's move up there. Now it's going to be coming out the top here. There we go. That's flowing through there, and we're starting to build up pressure in the system. And at about 30 psi, I'm now going to shut this off. There's some new tape. All right, that should be tight enough. Now we can open this up. All right, now that it's open, underneath this cap is a little air relief valve. Looks kind of like a bicycle valve. So I press that and air comes out. See that? So we're looking for that water. Now this is automatic too, but we can burp it like that. And now when you tighten this down, don't go all the way, because you still want the water to escape out that little hole. So now my next step, I'm going to force this on, let it circulate for like 15 minutes, and then I'll come back, turn this off, and then I'll burp that again. This one circulator controlled to this thermostat. So I'll just turn that on, and it'll start circulating. So I just turned this circulator on, and I also turned on the circuit breaker for this water heater. So we'll let this all run for about 15 minutes, then I'll shut it off. I'll retighten these screws. I have to burp this one more time and then turn everything off, and it'll be ready for winter. Everything's circulating behind me and I don't see any leaks, so I think we're all set. Thank you everybody very much for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, comment, and share.